Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Thanks for joining in. We'll wait for a couple of more minutes and then we'll begin this webinar. I can see a few people joining in and let's wait. Let's get in the folks. Okay, so let's begin. Welcome to the webinar on how to engage niche tech talent. Your host for the day, I am Karan Chatrat, leading the marketing strategy at Aspiring Minds. I'm based out of Gurgaon. I have with me Rajiv Ranjan, who is, I would say, quite an experienced hand at products and solutions. And he's also based out of Gurgaon. Hi, Rajiv.
Hi, Karan. Hello, everyone.
Okay, so both of us will be taking you through this webinar while I'll talk you through some of the latest trends in how we can engage tech talent. Rajiv will basically be bringing in the industry perspective and he'll give us a view on how things work at some of the best organizations. About Aspiring Minds, I think most of you would know Aspiring Minds is a leader in data science-based assessments and job credentialing. Our vision is to objectively match people and their skills to jobs, leveraging the power of data and artificial intelligence. Now, just for your info, some ground rules. This webinar, we'll try and edit it in 30 minutes, and we'll have the recording of the session also, and the recording will be made available to all of you. At the end of the session, we'll have about 10 to 15 minutes for any questions you may have. You can write them down in the chat panel or in the questions tab, and we can take them up at the end. Moving on, what all we will be covering today. Our broad agenda, surely, is to find ways and means to attract, engage, and enthuse top talent. And the job market, since it's changing, will help to understand the dynamics, and in the end, we'll try and see, how we can accomplish your goals, about hiring, about engaging talent quicker in a better way. So we'll start with a short overview of the changing tech industry. We'll look at, where all new jobs are getting created and within, what is changing in the tech part. Then we get into the aspect of who mans these jobs, see what changes are happening on that front. Then we'll try and see, some of the characteristics of, excuse me, the people in a bit of a detail, and I'll also try and get an industry perspective on the same. And then we'll look into some of those strategies, what we can do, what we should do, and what needs to be done for engaging tech talent. finally, I'll try and get in Rajiv to talk about a case, and he is going to bring in some interesting insights from whatever he's been doing. Last of all, we'll do the Q&A. Okay. Now, before we begin, right, I thought we can do a quick poll, and I'll just enable the poll for you. And it is in front of you, right? Here you go, right? So can you please answer this question? What is your number one challenge from your talent pool, right? So, when you go out and solicit new talent, what is it that is your number one challenge? Can you please fill in your answers? Please give us one challenge which you think is the toughest to overcome, right? So I'm starting to see some answers in. Can we have the others also answering? Yes, please. Right. So I can see, a lot of options getting filled in as we speak, and we'll give in last 10 to 15 more seconds for people to fill in their answers. Few of them already we can see. Okay. Anyone else to mark your answers in the poll? Okay, fine. So let's move forward. Now that you've put in your answers, and I can see for sure, right? Pool availability, candidate dropout. These are some of the challenges which really are figuring on the top. Organizational branding is also something which has been marked out, and cost and effort. That is something which is always there. Is a concern. So we spoke to our clients, and we've been speaking to a lot of people, and this is what we found, right? So it, these are some of the perennial pain points. No widespread talent pool availability. That is something which we need to reach out for. Time and effort management. Surely, this is something which goes in with all efforts we do. And expectation management for the TA's TA. No, when we say TA's TA, basically the TA's target audience. No, the expectations, they may have something in their minds, whosoever we want to reach out to, and the expectations can get lost. Now, that also fits into how the organization is perceived, how the branding happens. So the engagement piece is the first to suffer, in this case, and this leads to issues of no-shows, declines, and all of the effort which goes in to get people's attention comes to a naught. Now, let's try and understand, let's try and piece it together, because this is the piece, this is the puzzle which we intend to solve. But let's take a step back. You see, tech jobs are changing in India, and this is just a snapshot for India, but then it could also be for the world. We are seeing a lot of organizations moving from complex on-premise models to SaaS-based, moving from centralization to automation, building new technology sources in the AI, blockchain, digital. Now, what I call that is, basically we are moving from a traditional IT to a new IT. And, the revenue sources for new IT are also increasing. And if you were to see out here, and this is an interesting study from NASSCOM, in the next 7 years, revenues from new IT is going to be more than doubled. Now, that would mean a lot more of AI, a lot more of digital jobs, as we know. But also that candidates and you and me would also be using these technologies very, very, simply and conversationally as we speak. Now, these new technologies would be much more in hand, much more closer to the eye, and therefore they, as I say, it would be much more conversational. Now, what that entails is new technology will call for new ways of talent engagement and assessment. Let's move forward. I'll show you something, which is even more interesting. Now, in our discussions with various stakeholders, and this is something which you would have felt as well, right? Till about 3 to 4 years back, about 35% of our workplace, so that would say 1 in 3 in the workplace would be populated by, what we know as millennials, people who've been born after 1981, 82. And, that number was about 35%. Now, in the next 5 years, this number will be 75%. You see, that is where the change is happening. So while the jobs are changing, as we speak, the people who are manning those jobs are also changing. And that is where the crux of what we intend to do lies. We call out 75% of the workforce would be millennials and Generation Z. So Gen Z is somebody who's been born after 1995. And I'll try and bring out a few perspectives for you. Some of the characteristics for these two sets of people are worth exploring. Now, millennials, as we spoke, right? 1981, somebody who's been born from 1981 onwards, and Generation Z who's been born after 1995. Now, what are their attitudes towards technology? For the millennials, they are digital natives. They are quite comfortable with technology. Their attitude towards work is that they are not really working for an organization. They are working with organizations. Their source of communication media is either through text or social media, and they are present online and on mobile. Now, if we go forward to the Generation Z, the Gen Z born after the 1995, they are actually technoholics. Now, they live, they breathe technology, right? And their attitude towards work is basically to be involved in a series of multitasking efforts. They are the ones who are enabling gig economy for us. Now, how they are communicating, they have again a handheld, or even they would be having bodily integrated devices, and they would be present more or less on FaceTime, on video calls, Google Duo and all. Now, that is where they would be very comfortable with. And please note, the people in the millennial age group, they are becoming the leaders or the managers. And the second set is actually entering the workforce. It's quite an interesting mix, right? So let's see, what is it that is like a red thread, which is common recurring theme for both of these age groups. First, live has a great attraction. By live, it's not just about being on the internet or being online. The digital experience is basically their human experience. And as such, this is the need which we need to take cognizance of. The millennials and Gen Z are live, and they want to be constantly aware of what is happening. Next, visible tech. As a means of engagement, it provides them a wow factor. While technology could be great working at the back end of an analytics engine, for the Gen Z and the millennials, they need to feel and see it, right? We spoke about conversational technology, and that is what is their means of engagement. And they've been born and brought up on a cocktail of all these digital first initiatives. Engagement over a cloud basically gives them a high. And last of all, it all has to tie in seamlessly. Now, because of the expectations which we've seen from either the devices or through the streaming services, the millennials and Gen Z, they demand that it has to be a seamless customer experience at every touch point. Now, it could be in person, it could be online, it could be offline. So all of it has to be seamless. And they are not really amazed by any latest disease because they expect that as a basic functionality. And the ease of use of such products, they would really think that there's nothing great about it. All that has to be seamless, all that has to deliver. And this now right now is especially true for the Gen Z who require mobile optimization from brands in all places. Now, what does that mean? As what could be the rules of engagement for us in the HR fraternity? And that is where we come to the crux of what we intend to discuss today in this webinar. So what we did was, me and Rajiv, we basically sat through, we discussed of all of these things, and we thought about providing you 3 strategies, right? And these could be something which helps you, talk to different people, enthuse them, attract them, engage them, and finally get them onboarded. So strategy 1, use videos as far as possible. Now that is very simple to say. Yes, we can have videos, whether we have to get them on board, get them attracted, but then how can you get that video thing in the assessment scenario as well? I'll just give you some statistics, right? So as many as 91% of candidates, as per a survey, they are positive towards companies which are hiring through video interviewing. Again, 87% of these candidates know how a video interviewing works, and thus they are very, very confident about what it would do at the end. So that means they are pretty well aware, and it actually reflects highly on the brand. Now, more so with most of the people being connected only on mobiles, if you intend to cater to a large database, if your audience is mobile, you have to be there. Mobile-based engagement becomes the key out here. Now, it'll obviously help you increase the talent pool. It'll also be a great branding message, as I called out. But how do you do that, right? And video interviewing platforms are there. They are becoming increasingly prevalent. And our interaction with our customers say that they are here to stay, and the numbers are really going to rise even further. Now out here, I just thought I'll give you a brief overview on how video interviewing would work at a very basic sense. It could be synchronous or asynchronous. The difference surely is in the first part, the synchronous. It's a live interview which is enabled through an online channel. As you can see, out here on the left-hand part, it has to have a great platform, has to enable great user experience, and obviously it has to enable great communication. Now, these can be for software developer hiring, software engineer profiles, could be for testers, or it could also be done for people without the coding knowledge, and that could still be enabled wherein they can talk one-on-one with an assessor, or more than one guy sitting and assessing. So you're going to have the HR plus the technical folks talking to a candidate at the same time, and that really provides a great candidate engagement. Now, likewise, if I would talk about asynchronous interviews, it could just be conducted by an AI-enabled intelligent machine, which could be checking for body language, facial emotions, or the content of the speech, and thus it could provide some sort of a score to shortlist candidates. Now, in both the cases, the idea is to optimally use technology so as to reach out and touch through the maximum numbers. So I think out here, I'd like to get in Rajiv, because Rajiv's been talking to a lot of organizations, and try and see what he has to say vis-a-vis what is happening in the market and what he's been looking into.
Sure, Karan. Thank you so much, Karan. So I would like to talk a little bit on the video interview solution that you just mentioned about, and how can we engage the millennial talent using the video interview solutions. Let me talk about an implementation of a video interview solution and how it enabled a US headquartered leading business organization to address the concerns which they were facing with high attrition, the time consuming and costly process of identifying the right talent. The role that they were looking for, and they always had this challenge while hiring this set of candidates were for customer service representatives. They started leveraging the asynchronous AI-enabled video interview solution, and we could implement it across 10 countries for them, which they leveraged for a preliminary round of assessment. As a first level, when any of the candidates walked in and they wanted to apply for the customer service role, then they were first of all taken through this asynchronous interview platform. Uh, More than 50,000 candidates were assessed, and we were able to do it in more than 10 different languages across 10 different countries. Now, the use case that they were able to address with this is, first of all, they were able to understand and rightly evaluate the communication skills, which is one of the most key and important competencies for this role. The second thing that they could very reliably assess was the workplace skills of these candidates, and the workplace part caters to competencies like their persuasion skills, stress management, learning attitude, planning and organizing skills, and their social skills.
So basically, what we are saying is we could enable good engagement as well as we could assess all these skills which you call out through video interviewing platforms.
Absolutely, and
Right.
the attrition rate that we were able to reduce for them was by as much as 50%. In
Right.
fact, the talent pool that they were looking at, and we could enhance the talent pool reach for them by almost 40%.
Right. So basically, getting in a video thing helps you engage talent better and helps you assess them better, so that finally in a long run, if I were to talk about long term benefits for the organization, it helps them reduce these attrition levels as well.
Absolutely.
Right. So though it may not be something which is very obvious right now, but in the long term, since you hire right, you actually retain right as well. Great. So I'll just move on, right? Thank you, Rajiv, for this example. And the second strategy, what we have is basically to create collaborative environments. So the millennials and the Gen Z, right, as we spoke about, they are not overwhelmed with technology. They actually thrive within it. Now they cannot just get over with a small thing or just one thing about it. Now they would really want to be tinkering with the technology, and for this reason, any collaborative environment which involves technology is a good way to attract and engage these folks. Now, live videos you know can be one part but cannot be the only one. No, so why while we talk about videos, I think more tools to collaborate, more environments to sort of get along together, whether it's online or on site, offline as well. That is something which would really be enthusing these guys. Now, how can that be done effectively? I'll just try and show you. I mean, a great example is actually hackathons, testathons, and ideathons, right? And they are the ones which are actually gaining currency in the present times. Now, they are being used by a lot of tech organizations, even for that matter, people who would want to hire from campuses. It's a great way to engage people. For them, finally, it is a sense of achievement to have cracked a hackathon and get in some sort of a public acclaim. I'll get it Rajiv again here. I think Rajiv, you work with a lot of organizations which have done hackathons, and I'll get your perspective. How what are the new things which are happening, and how our webinar viewers can really benefit from what you've seen and done.
Yes, Karan. So the key challenge which we have seen a lot of clients facing is that how do they engage the right set of talent? How do they get the candidate engagement part of it addressed? The second piece is which they always struggle with is the employer branding part. So we have been working with several organizations in this space. I would like to take an example of a leading American telecommunications company. and we enable with our end-to-end offering, including definition of the contest theme, sourcing and branding, challenge design, conducting the events, and the post-contest support. Now, for the better candidate engagement part, we used a team-based coding challenge that was to be solved using a live interview platform.
Okay.
So this in fact helped them get registrations in the numbers of higher side of more than 35,000 registrations.
Right.
And over 20,000 candidates were able to participate. This could enhance their candidate engagement by as much as 50%.
Okay,
So,
great. So basically what you're saying is you get people on board and they will get in more people as well. And all of them, when you can get in for that organization, it helps them build that brand.
the engagement part of it basically.
The engagement is higher and, more people get interested in the organization as well. Right. Right. So I think, that is again a great example, how, hackathons or testathons, ideathons could really be helping organizations. I'll move on. The third part, it's simply to have it all in real time. Now, real time information, if available flexibly across devices, that is now becoming the bedrock of all expectations. Now, I'll quickly show you an example because I think you understand all of this very well. But with an example is something which I like to again get in Rajiv, but let's understand, right, that recruitment marketing can allow for job posts to be present on different social media channels, and even that can be shared over WhatsApp and communication networks. But what about the, after the post the initial engagement phase? So let's say after a Facebook post is there, you really would not or may not want the candidate to be walking into the office, waiting for a few hours and doing some sort of a pen and paper test, and then that the person to be, waiting for days on to give a result. The the engagement, after it's begun online, that that whole experience has to stay as is, and a robust automated recruitment center can just be sort of shortlisting candidates, can be running assessments, can even provide for shortlists, further sending notifications, helping with interviews, and finally to even releasing e-offers, right? And it's quite an effective way in which finally from start to end the candidate engagement stays where we intend it to be. Now, I think Rajiv's got a case study on this, and we'll just sort of get quickly onto that, and let's hear from you, Rajiv.
Yes, Karan. So this is about a leading e-commerce giant, and one of the challenges which they were facing was because they hired niche technical talent, the number of rounds that they used to conduct for hiring a single candidate was around 7 to 8 per candidate. So they had to spend good amount of time, and the time to hire was comparatively very high. Uh, the way we started working with them and we tried to identify the problem statement, we implemented this automated recruitment center solution for them, where we started with multiple levels of evaluation, and they were designed to evaluate the candidates on the coding skills and their analytical ability. The shortlisted set of candidates, they underwent a real-time live interview using our interview solution, and the outcome that we could bring in for them was an improvement of as much as 60% in the time to hire and the speed to hire which they were facing. And it certainly saved thousands of recruiting hours for them.
Right. So what I see is, from an outcome part, you could shorten the entire cycle, and from the benefits part, I think it's surely be saving you a lot of money, saving the client a lot of money as well as effort.
Right.
Right. Right. Great. So I think there's something which I think you are sort of continuing as well. You're sort of working with the client and trying to find out more ways and means to engage and automate the process, right?
Right. And that is something which streamlines their entire hiring process.
Right. Great. Okay. So I think I'll just sort of sum it up for you. What can be the new rules? I think we need to have video-based uh, engagements. Has to be collaborative. It has to be real time and has to be flexible across devices. So this way, this is the way which we can finally get things done better. Okay. Aspiring minds, as we are into assessments and interviewing, and this is our complete suite of products. We cover almost the entire gamut of the hiring journey, and we're super thrilled to help you out because as I call out, right, our motto is this. It's very simple: don't let the right ones get away. Okay, so out here now I'll stop and I'll open it for Q&A. You can type in your questions, as I said, right in the questions panel, or you could write in the chat section and we'll take them up. So I think we are right on time on that part. Yeah. So can we have questions, please? Okay, so by the time people start writing in questions, it'll be great if you can, fill in the poll as well. I'll just enable it for you. This is basically a rating for what we just delivered to you, this webinar. And I'll just enable the poll. And your feedbacks really would help us improve the quality of what we are delivering, and also it helps us see what is that you would need. Okay, and can I have questions, please? I think I can see a few of them. The questions panel, yeah. Okay, so I think one of the questions, let me just get it. Just a minute. Okay, so Rajiv, somebody wants to understand, how this case which you talked about, the automated recruitment center. So the question is, how is it that you did?
Yeah, so because this is one of the cases where we started working with this client, and the challenge which they were facing is in terms of the multiple rounds of interviews which they had to do in order to hire one single candidate. There were immense amount of effort which was going through when we talk about evaluating these candidates and then conducting those interviews. What we did for them is when they talk about recruitment process in the entire hire to retire journey, that is something which we started with getting the details of these candidates once they started applying through various social media channels. And we capture their details in the form of a registration page, which is entirely customized as per the details which is to be captured for the client. And then based on the details which are collected, automatically the set of assessments which are required for a particular job role, which is defined by the competencies which is required for the job role, that gets triggered. As the first round, we started with them for their coding skills, which is again an entirely simulated setup on the coding evaluation skills. And along with that, we had something on the language, which is cognitive ability evaluation and the language skills. Candidates who could clear this round, they were automatically sent out with details of their interview process, and they just got an email, and as per the convenience, they could join the interviews, which helped them roll out the offers as well, where we enabled them with the e-offers. So the entire recruitment process as such, that is something that we were able to automate for them.
So basically, you could funnel it out, and that could be done in a very, I would say, great way about it. Okay, I just one more question I saw. I think somebody's asking about proctoring.
Mhm.
So, while videos and I mean, we spoke about real time. So the question is, what about proctoring? How do you enable or how do you help with proctoring?
Okay, so we do have several mechanisms in which we ensure the integrity of the assessments. One of the mechanisms which I would like to call out over here is a proctoring mechanism, which is just through the webcam-based snapshots that we take of the candidate, and we also have mechanisms related to the playback of the entire assessment or the entire interview session which the candidate would have attempted. Right? Many a times it also happens that candidates try to find out ways of cheating the system or trying to do some malpractices. So there are mechanisms through which we can identify multiple faces in a single frame. If there is no face in one single frame for a given duration, that is something also that we can identify. And certainly the basic functionalities related to proctoring, like switching out of the window, print screen disable. So these are the things which helps us out in ensuring the integrity of the assessment process.
Sure, sure, sure. Fair enough. I think proctoring is something which we can take care of at ease, and it shouldn't be an issue for
Absolutely.
any of the recruiters.
No, we do have a cutthroat, state-of-the-art technologies in proctoring, which we can ensure that all the kind of mechanisms as candidates come up through newer ways of cheating the system, we come up with newer ways of how do we tackle it.
Okay, 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 okay. Great, great. So the other question is around hackathons. For hackathons, what can be the maximum number of people you could cater to?
This we have done it at a very large scale as well. When once we started working on an open hackathon, it was not a organization specific hackathon, but a hackathon which was conducted as a public event. And this was done for a data science event that we conducted. So we have the capability to do it at a very large scale, because at one single point, at one single instance, we can scale the system. The architecture of the system has been designed as such, then we can scale it to a very good number. So just to quote an example over here, we were able to conduct more than 1.5 lakhs of assessments just in a time duration of 3 days. Wow. For one of the clients.
Okay, numbers are impressive. Great. Okay, one more question I have, and I think this is something which we spoke of earlier, right? Can I get the recording of the session? I think yes, surely. We'll be sending it out via email. Once this whole the session gets tabulated within Zoom, and we'll send it out. Okay. Any other questions do we have? So, you guys have any other questions? Please share them. Okay. So, if there are no more questions, I think we can end it here. Thank you. Thank you for your patient hearing, and still, if you were to think about anything which comes to your mind, you can very well direct it to me, Karan, and Rajiv. Our email IDs are mentioned here. You can even find us on LinkedIn for that matter. Thank you for giving us a patient hearing and being a wonderful group. Till next time, thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.